Good evening, everyone. If everyone is still standing, can please take a seat. We'd greatly appreciate it. I'd like to welcome everybody this evening to the Lumbee Tribal Chairman Forum 2012, hosted by the Brothers of Phi Sigma Nu Native American Fraternity. Before we do anything this evening, we would like to honor two groups of people who are very important to our heritage, our traditions, our cultures, and that's our number one, our elders. So if anybody's over the age of 63 and can, if you will, please stand. And also our warriors. If there's any veterans in here tonight, will you please stand? Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for raising us as grandchildren. Thank you for fighting for our freedom and keeping our culture alive. First of all, this evening, I'd like to thank the University of North Carolina for allowing us to use this beautiful facility for the second year in a row. And hopefully, 3 years from now, the fraternity can keep hosting this and it can keep on and continue to grow. There's some special people I'd like to go ahead and recognize. Number one, Miss Charlie Lowry for helping to advertise and get it out in the community for us. I'd like to thank Mr. Rob Jacobs for the inspiration to go ahead and start to put it together. And I'd like to thank Miss Morgan Hunt-Works for all that she's done for us in so many ways. And I'd like to thank Mr. Cameron Mathis, who will be the co-moderator tonight, for helping with questions. I'd like to thank all of the candidates tonight for coming out. This is very important. The importance of the tribal chairmanship cannot be overstated at all. The tribal chairman is the head of government. And the one thing that is special is that 98% of Americans are citizens of their state and citizens of the country. American Indians are citizens of their state, their country, and their tribe. And they are our leaders. They are our head of state. But tonight, I want to go ahead and recognize Phi Sigma Nu Native American Fraternity. They're the first Native American fraternity in the entire country and started right here at UNC Pembroke. And it once started with 7 founding fathers, and now we spread from sea to shining sea with over 250 brothers, the largest Native American fraternity still in the country today. And any gentleman that you see with a white shirt and red tie, we are the Brothers of Phi Sigma Nu. We have been empowering Native men to collectively engage in academic, social, cultural, and physical realms since 1996, and we continue to grow, and we will not stop. Let me explain the format tonight. At the beginning, each candidate will be given 2 minutes to introduce themselves, say any opening words. We will also, when we ask questions, everybody will be given 1.5 minutes to answer. We will allow discussion to go further on if any candidate would like to expand after everybody has already answered their question. And at the end, there will be a 2-minute closing remark by each candidate. I should get everything. And now I would like to introduce each of the candidates for coming up. First, I would like to go ahead and introduce Mr. Lynn Bruce Jacobs here to our left. He is a lifetime resident of Robeson County, and he is the pastor of Crying Spirit Ministries. He has a PhD in philosophy and in divinity. During his 21 years of service in the U.S. Army, he served 2.5 tours in Vietnam, where he became a bloody warrior. He served as a logistics coordinator and ACE Actions Officer for 8 military communities composed of over 150,000 military personnel and families. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lynn Bruce Jacobs. And in the middle, Mr. Jimmy Goins. He is from the Prospect community. He served in the United States Army, and while serving in Vietnam, he received the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star. He was the chairman from 2004 to 2010. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jimmy Goins. And last, the current chairman, Mr. Paul Brooks. He has 18 years of service with North Carolina Commission of Indian Affairs. He's chairman of the Finance Committee with the Golden Leaf Foundation, and he served 8 years with the Robeson County Board of Education. He is a United States veteran. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Brooks. Just one quick logistical thing. We wanted 4 microphones for everybody, and yesterday we had 4 mics. Now we have 2, and I do apologize. We have one down here, and the candidates will have to share one. So I thank them for working along with me, and I thank you for coming out tonight. Can you hear me? All right. Can everybody hear me well in the back? Yes. All right, thank you. The first question will go to Mr. Brooks.
Is this on?
All right. The first one will be about the community and university relations. I apologize. Opening statements.
Good evening. I just want to thank you for the opportunity tonight to come together with you to talk about our tribe in relation to who we are, what we are, and where we want to go. It's amazing that I've only been here 11 months. And in that 11 months, I have had the opportunity to look at, inspect, visualize, and try to move us forward into a direction that we need to go. And when I looked at the direction that I thought and I know that we need to go and try to move in such a way that we cannot depend on federal monies all the time, we are our own destiny. And when you think about that, the way to do that is we have to have a partnership, movement with the world, with all the corporate world. And so far we have been able to be in a position to bring that home to us. And my goal is that there will be no unemployment in our area. It would be zero. If we had that, every person in our tribe would enjoy the benefit of living the American dream. Education is another thing that really is on the forefront, and we very seldom ever talk about it. In fact, we have it in the preamble every time we meet. We talk about 3 things. We talk about economic development, we talk about education, and we talk about culture. It's time that we realize what that really means. That we need to be about doing that. We just instituted a grant this week in relation to obesity and cancer. So we're on the road to make it to a recovery.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. How you Lumbees doing tonight? Good to see you. My name's Jimmy Goins, and it's good to see my wife, the kids, the grandchildren, and I'm not going to take the second step, not ride ship. But we've got something else coming in a few days. I once asked you for your support for Office of Tribal Chairman for Lumbee Tribe of North Carolina. Under my leadership, the tribe's assets grew from $2 million to more than $50 million. Now this sounds good, and it is a good thing. There are some things more valuable than money and materials. Consider the faces of a family as they walk through the door of their brand new home. Then you see their kids' grades improve because they have self-esteem at school, because they've got them a brick home just like everyone else. Think of our youngsters, our kids, when they're dancing, beating the drum, learning songs of a culture they thought was lost. And even our elders, their heartfelt thanks for a warm and dry and safe home to live in. Now Now, these are the things I think are important. Many of you here tonight may not be eligible or care to receive services from the tribe, but you still are responsible and seeing that the tribe is held accountable for the money it receives. Because this money just doesn't drop out of the sky. This is taxpayers' money. This is your money come out of your pocket. And guess what? The money we receive, you're part of the reason we receive it, because we use you as a head count to turn into HUD. Thank you.
Nanete, how are you in our old native tongue? We are a people. Mind you, we have been separated from each other for a long time. A people do not make a nation. Unity makes a nation. Nations grow. Groups of people don't. There's a lot we can do. There's a lot that has been done. Much more needs to be done. Millions of dollars have came into this tribe. Millions of dollars have been spent. A lot of you don't see it all in your communities, but it's around. But there's billions more out there if you know where to look. Those billions can put people to work. All you got to do is get it and put it in motion. I will help you do that. I've made the contacts already. Especially for us. It's been waiting for us for a year. We just got to ask for it. I've heard everything from our people won't work to our people don't care about it. It's up to you. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. The first question tonight will be about the community and university relations, since we are here at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke. The University of North Carolina at Pembroke was created as a school to train American Indian teachers to educate the local population. This university has touched the lives of many families, creating a brighter opportunity for our people. What does this university mean to you, and what should it mean to our people?
It is an amazing fact that when I go to think about who we are and where we are, our forefathers had the vision that we're now enjoying. When you just take for a moment and think, when this university was founded, it was founded for the purpose of Indians. Today it's still being noted as an Indian college, a university. I'm proud to be able to say to you tonight that Dr. Carter and I have a very close relationship. We are doing several things together even now. Even when you talk about the community in relation to the university, we have entered sort of a compact between the school education system with Johnny Hunt and the mayor and the council of Pembroke. We are doing things together. In fact, if you go back and think about LRDA being involved in this also with us, we had the best 4th of July that we've ever had. And that goes to show you that we're working together trying to build not only a relationship, but build a movement that will carry over decades to come, that our children will be glad that they can say they can be a part of a university that's growing. And another thing we're talking about in relation to universities, we're trying to do it in such a way that the Indian emissions are in such a way are up, and make sure that they don't decrease.
How long did you say we had to answer?
Yeah, a minute and a half.
That's running fast. What does UNCP means to me? It means to my mother, and uncles was able to get an education. Me and my wife came out here, our kids came out here, and I have grandsons coming to UNCP. UNCP gives our community the opportunity to have a hope for a higher education for our people. It is an enabler, not just for an education, but for a social and economic enabler. Now, for example, the tribe should develop a relationship with UNCP. And once again, inviting the chancellor once every 3 months to our tribal council meetings to give an update about UNCP. Using these students here with their great talents to be mentors for our kids. And maybe the university would give them credits on their courses for doing that. For example, uses North Carolina School of Design to come down, actually teach a master level course on Lumbee housing. They went around and interviewed 100 Lumbee families and designed homes. You see at Arrow Point today behind the turtle. That's where designs came from for our corporation with North Carolina School of Design. That's the relationship we should have with UNCP. And let me just say this, of all the things the Lumbees have accomplished, trust me, UNCP is our shining star. Thank you.
Being the first in my family to graduate college, it wasn't here, I'm sorry. However, my brother went here. He dropped out because he couldn't afford it. Several of my cousins went here and graduated, became school teachers. I came back here after I retired from military. This college, years ago when I was a young man, this was the sweetest thing and the sweetest place anyone ever wanted to come to. Of course, the state didn't own it then. We did. We made the rules on who attended, not some politicians up the road. I came back, I needed 24 hours to graduate. They said I'd been out of the state, out of the county too long. I was ready to go in for my master's. Instead of starting all over again, I decided to go somewhere else. But I told my daughter to come out here. My daughter-in-law's out here now, she's a student. My son, he expects to come back out here when she graduates. And I just love seeing our people come to school and get a good quality education, which I know comes from here. I've seen it. I've met some of the people that graduated from here in business. They know what they're doing.
Expanding on that, what kind of relationship should there be between the tribal government and the university?
It should be a relationship of mutual respect. And let me give you just a symbol of what Chancellor Carter's already started doing. The simple thing is the homecoming parade. At first, the staff at UNCP wanted the parade just to be on the campus. But up under his leadership, he started that parade at Pembroke Elementary. He brought it through the streets of the town of Pembroke, and it went through the campus. Many of them had this discussion. He wanted to show the staff and this UNCP student body the connection between the town, the community of the Lumbees, and the UNCP. Now, that was just a fine gesture from him. Now, another thing I like to point out is that our kids depends on getting a great education out here at UNCP. And by us working together as a tribe with UNCP, the sky's the limit. The advantages we have out here, take advantage of the staff and the students. It'd be unlimited what the Lumbee tribe could do with this UNCP. And so, but I think the first thing we need to do is to actually have a heart-to-heart talk, not only with the chancellor, but with some of the leadership out here at this UNCP. Now let them understand that Lumbee tribe sure to support them, but we also need their support. This is a valuable tool, not only for education, but for economic development in the land of the Lumbee.
I stated earlier that Dr. Carter and I have a very good relationship already in relation to not only the movement in relation to our Indian education system here, but in fact, we've talked about the admissions. We talked about scholarships. We need to start talking about how we can purport scholarships in relation to the UNCP. In fact, just like the state purports money for the school system in relation to education. UNCP is the vehicle that will move us forward into the next decade. And if we can work with this university and work with our kids to put them in school and keep them retained in school. The retention factor is a very important movement. It's amazing that how many start college and then drop out of college. We need to be supportive of the movement in relation to that. So it's time that we have a better relationship with our kids in relation to the educational system with our university.
The university and the tribe should have a strong relationship. How many people out here tonight can come out of their pocket and pay for 4 years of college? We need, like you said, more scholarship programs. We need to get not only the tribal relationship with UNCP, but we need to get UNCP's relationship with the community colleges in the area closer. A lot of children come out of high school, can only afford a junior college. We need to get a better crossover ratio from the junior colleges to here. You'd have a lot more students here. The school needs to start accepting the degree programs, more of them, so the students can come in here and go ahead and finish their bachelor's degree. Thank you.
All right. I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but if you will, please, put your phones on silent or vibrate or just turn them off. It's a little disrespectful when we do have phones going off, and I apologize for not mentioning that to begin with. The next set of questions will be the role of the tribal chairman. And the first question will go to Mr. Jacobs.
What is your understanding of the functions of the tribal administration versus the tribal council?
Tribal council, each one of those council members is there for a specific reason. They are there to support and bring forth changes within their community. They vote what their community wants. The administration side of the house handles all tribal administration, everything from housing down to transportation. There are some things that are handled in the administrative section that could be moved around just a little bit. But like I said, all your council members, when they walk in to have a meeting, they should already know what their community wants from what's going to be discussed in that meeting. They should already been there and discussed it with the community. And they're there to vote what their people want, not what they want.
Repeat that question. Am I next? Yes. Okay. Repeat that question.
What is your understanding of the functions of the tribal administration versus tribal council?
First of all, the tribal chairman, most important thing he can do when he raises his right hand, is to uphold this Constitution. That's the most important thing a chairman can do. Now, the tribal council, his job is to make laws. The tribal chairman's job is to enforce those laws. Now, follow what I'm about to say. when you have a division between the legislative branch and the executive branch, you go into having a dialogue. Let's talk this thing out. But there's sometime we must go to the third branch, which is the Supreme Court of the Lumbee land. Now, again, let me say, when a budget is given from the chairman to the tribal council, he's out of the picture. This is tribal council's budget. When they pass the budget back to the chairman, they pass it back in form of a law. Therefore, the only thing he's able to do is follow the law. That's what that budget tells him to do. That's the only thing he can do. There's no movement of money or anything else except from the permission of the tribal council. And I hope and pray that every one of you have read your Constitution, because without this document, we can go home. This is what glues the Lumbee tribe together. It's been voted on by our people. In 1998, I was appointed to LSDC, Lumbee Self-Determination Committee, and this is where it all got started.
Tribal council has 4 duties: pass the law, vote up or down a tribal administrator, pass a budget, and make laws. The tribal chairman has the duty of complying with the budget of implementation with the administration. He has the responsibility of delivering to the membership on an annual state of address to the Lumbee tribe. 10 days he has to certify any ordinance and movement in relation to the tribe itself. He has the authority to veto ordinances. He has the responsibility of nominating a tribal administrator. And he is the one person that represents the tribe in relation to all tribunals, federal and state agencies. Thank you.
I have one expanded question on that. The statement was brought up that the tribal council make laws and the tribal administration enforces laws, and we can all agree on that. So my question is, in theory, is it possible that the tribal council make a law and the chairman decide not to enforce it? Is that possible?
I'm sure it is possible, but it's not good to do that. Because about anything is possible when you're dealing with a constitution as we have, because there's a lot of gray areas even in our Constitution itself, even today. And you know that right before we got too far into our Constitution in relation to that, you remember our area used to be everywhere. And, you know, we did a referendum and we brought it into 4 counties. So when you're talking about, it's not prudent to try to circumvent what our Constitution has already laid out for us. So as chairman, I'm going to try to stay within those bounds. Thank you.
If you want to answer, you can answer.
Okay. My Constitution says all executive powers shall reside in a tribal chairperson, who shall cause all laws, not some laws, not laws you want to pick, but all laws put in place by the tribal council in this Constitution to be faithfully executed. My interpretation of that, if they pass a law that the chairman doesn't agree with, he's got an opportunity to veto it. Send it back to the council for up or down vote. But for me to sit here and say they pass a law, the chairman's got to sign the law. So why would he sign the law and then try to go against that law? I reckon that's my answer to your question, is that when they pass that law and the chairman signs it into law, and it's got to be posted for 30 days, it becomes the law of the land, and the Constitution tells him he's got to follow that law with no exception. I cannot find exception in the Constitution for the chairman not to follow the laws passed by the tribal council.
The question kind of answers itself. Law. No way around it. It's the law. You speed, you get a ticket. You steal, you go to jail. Law is law. Obey.
Thank you. This next question will start with Mr. Goins. One of the first major decisions made by a tribal chairperson is selecting a tribal administrator. By your understanding, what is the role of the tribal administrator, and what qualities would you look for a person to fill that role?
In the appointing of a tribal administrator, I think the law has been changed since I left, so I think, if I'm correct, the chairman has 45 days to present that name, that nomination to the tribal council for up and down vote. Now, what qualities do you look for in a tribal administrator? Well, guess what? We got a problem. We don't have that many Lumbees that has enough experience in the house of funding to actually come on board and start day one and just run with the ball. It's going to have to be a learning process for that tribal administrator. So what you're going to have to try to do is find someone that has some kind of experience with federal government, but more important, that someone with a heart, because that tribal administrator is dealing with the Lumbee people each and every day. All the problems come at his desk, and what he can't handle, then he calls the chairman. But he's got to have a heart. He's got to have an open door policy, not by appointment, but open door policy. Now, with that said, you cannot operate a government without a tribal administrator. That's your key position. That person's got to have that relationship not only with the Lumbees, the membership, but also especially with that tribal council. He's got to return phone calls. He's got to let the politics go to the tribal chairman. Basically, the tribal chairman handles your politics.
We are a special people, and it really takes a special person to administer all the different aspects of things that relate to our tribe. I would hope that we would look at a tribal chairman that's not just one that is looking at federal monies. Federal monies is a given, and basically all those are implemented through law and policy. I like to have a chairman that would look outside the box. We need to move our tribe in the direction of the next decade, that we don't have to depend on federal funds. We need to do it in such a way that we think of education as being the impetus of moving us forward. And in order to do that, we need to look at economic development. And I would look for a person that has that kind of background, that can purport working with people, moving people into the right direction to make a move. In fact, we have about 14 programs that work at the tribe. But we could have 1,000 jobs in a few days if we do it in the right way, just with 8A certification.
The tribal administrator is such an important job. One of the very first things you look for in a position of this importance is character. Are they a person of their word? They should be vetted by the council, and I mean very closely scrutinized, because this is the person that's going to be handling our funds, working with the businesses around here to help us grow. This person has to be vetted. No matter if I'm tribal chairman, I choose a person, I may have already checked their background. Of course I would. But I still expect that person to be vetted by the council. And if it takes them sitting that person down, eyeball to eyeball, questioning that person for 3-4 weeks, don't bother me a bit, as long as the council is satisfied with that person. If that person meets all the prerequisites, they've checked the background, know that the person is a person of character, someone that you would trust handling your bank account. That's what you're looking at with an administrator. You're looking at somebody that you would trust to give them your checkbook. Let them write checks on your bank account. That's how much that person needs to be vetted.
You get it for you next first question. With saying that, how soon after you are elected will you be able to bring forth a nominee for tribal administrator?
I'm very sure I could do it within 60 days. I know I'm supposed to be 45. Let's put it this way. If I start working on it now, by the time I'm elected, I could do it in 3 weeks.
I see why you put me in the middle. Now I'm small enough to... I figured you both said something. The position we're in today as a tribal government is one that... You brought up a good question. There's no way to answer it in a minute and 15 seconds, because now we're talking about sovereignty. Yes, you can bring a name in 45 days, but this particular time in the history of our government, guess who else has got to be pleased with that appointment? Not only the tribal council and the chairman, but HUD's got to be approved this person. That's where we're at with this government now. He can be done in 45 days, but it's going to take a whole lot of work, not with only the chairman, but with the corporation of the tribal council. And I just feel like that this is a crossroads in our history, that the person we choose has got to be the right person. And it shouldn't be just the choice of the chairman submitting one name. The Constitution calls for one name. It might be come to a point when you get through talking with HUD about the qualifications and everything they want to see down here. You might end up sending 2 names. Who knows? But you've got to get it right, and you're only going to have one chance to do it.
Would you repeat the question again, please?
How soon after you are elected will you be able to bring forth a nominee for tribal administrator?
Well, the normal process that you do, an RFP that you put out there in relation to whoever's out there would be interested in the position. And say if you put an RFP out there and you're going to do it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then you get all the applicants in, and then you go through the process of choosing a name to bring forth to the tribal council, and the process by which you do that with could take a little time. So I don't think you should rush into movement of giving a name without doing the due diligence that is necessary to be able to find the right candidate for the position. And then you'll be able to give it to the council in a timely manner. Thank you.
What is the greatest challenge to our tribal government?
Repeat it again.
What is the greatest challenge to our tribal government?
Being able to communicate. When you think of how we communicate today, we communicate in many different ways. When you think of what that means that today we have a 21 tribal council board. And you're talking about communicating with them and also communicating with 55,000 individuals that are enrolled in our tribe. If our communications are such that we understand what we're doing and how we're doing it, then there's probably less questions in relation to why we do it. So if we have the right communications going from the tribe to our members, we will have a better and a much stronger force moving forward in relation to our tribe and showing the sovereignty that we really have within ourselves.
Let's speak from the heart on this one. That surely communication is a must, it's a given. But something just important, maybe more important, is self-recognition of who our people are. Do they believe, are they proud to be Lumbees? We're losing our kids because of drugs. Our people's facing unemployment, facing hunger, facing suicide. Even got one kid tried to cut both wrists, and his sister in 8th grade been bullied on at school because she was homeless. Now she's in a mental institute. Says she'd kill herself before she go back to school. Now, communication, you've got to have it. And I'm not talking about just talking about communication, but actually having communication. There's a difference here. You've got to do it to make this government work. Because as long as I'm talking to you, we're going to figure something out. But when I walk away from you and never speak to you again, we still got the same problem. We'll never solve anything. But again, I warn you, self-recognition. Can we get our kids to believe it's a good thing to be red? It's a good thing to be Lumbee? Can we save that generation of people? Can we make our elders feel good about being Lumbees again? That self-recognition is one of the keys to the success of this government.
The biggest problem the tribal government faces today, a lot of it is sitting right here. The people don't trust the government no more. They've lost faith in it. That's the biggest problem they got. Our children, that ain't the government's problem. That's our problem as a whole, as a people. You remember the days, I know some of you remember the days, around your neighborhood, you used to get whipped by people you didn't even know. We're still raising our children, and we're doing a good job of it. We can do better. Get them back to the elders. How many of you right now know every Indian within a 2-mile radius of where you live? No. Weren't like that before. Our people have become disconnected from each other. Unity, people. Come back together as one. The government is here to support you. And like I said, the biggest problem we got is trust. We got to rebuild the trust of the people.
All right, next question. Relating to that, with a poor economy, high crime, and drug abuse rates, in your opinion, what should be the role of the tribal chairman in helping combat the social ills?
Tribal chairman, above all, sets an example for his people. He spends time with his people. Every neighborhood within the tribal area should see that chairman at least once a month. Once a year, that chairman should be in your neighborhood, talking to your children, giving them encouragement, encouraging the young people, the old people alike. Have dinner with them. Bring economic buildup within the tribe. business? Where do people have jobs? People sitting around doing nothing, that causes problems. We need to build up more jobs within here, more economic futures for our children, make them want to go back to school, make them proud to be Lumbee again. As the chairman, be with the people. You can't sit in the office all the time.
Well, as we was talking about the Constitution, the chairman is the voice of the tribe. And one of the things we're liking now is culture. If I can get our kids to sit around Father Drum, if I can get our girls dancing, doing needlework, and especially these Boys and Girls Clubs. The reason the Boys and Girls Club was started for two things: for culture, and the second thing, if you notice every Boys and Girls Club, you have an elders group in it. The theory behind it was if we get our elders to spend a little time with our young folks, they could teach them to say, yes ma'am and no sir. They could, I'll be frank with you, they could tell them a little story about Jesus. The role of the chairman would be to bring these groups together. And we started a little saying years ago after Hillary, it doesn't take a village to raise a child. It takes a tribe to raise a child. So not only is the chairman's responsibility, it's every one of you sitting out there to help to nurture and empower our kids. Now, there are programs out here you can apply for grants for addicts, and trust me, I'm an addict myself to nicotine. If cocaine and stuff is any stronger than nicotine, I don't want it. I can feel sorry for them. My mother always told me this: son, don't you never look at somebody and laugh at them because they're drunk. She said, the only thing you better say, by the grace of God, there goes you.
Could I repeat the question again, please?
With a poor economy, high crime, and drug abuse rates, in your opinion, what should be the role of the tribal chairman in helping to combat these social ills?
Jobs, 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 education, education, education. When you stop to realize that the addictions that you're talking about are caused by a problem of some type, of some nature, education is the best way to disseminate information to whoever, to help that person or persons. And then there are some programs, that are out there today. In fact, I'm sort of interested in a program that the movement is moving now, if we can get it done, that we can have these kind of addictions purported through an educational process, through a working process, that we can put these people back into the mainstream of life. So yes, let's do the jobs and let's do the education.
All right, this is the last question, the role of tribal chairman. If elected or re-elected, at the end of the day, what do you want your greatest accomplishment as tribal chairman to be?
At the end of just a day or a year, or you're just talking about one day?
At the end of your term.
End of my term, okay. Well, everybody likes to be patted on the back, right? I mean, everybody likes to feel like you've done the day's work and you've done it in such a way that you've made the right decisions. Because you got to remember, the last decision that you make is one that everybody remembers, right? Whether that decision is good or bad, that's the decision that resonates in the mind. And if I have one legacy in relation to moving forward what I've already started, is I want to see our people have a job to go to work, and I want to see our people have a paycheck coming in to be able to live a life and to purport an education for the kids. And if there's anything that I would love any more than that, is to be able to say one day, Paul Brooks, you did it.
There's so many things as chairman you want to accomplish, but there's maybe one that I would really, really love to see happen in the land of Lumbee. This government was gave birth in the fellowship halls of the churches. The churches gave birth to this government. Where are our churches today in this government? It's the same we got in our family. I always love you, but right now I don't like you. How can we bring the churches, because nobody knows the local community better than that local church, how we can bring the ministries back into working with the government? Is it by having meetings with the pastors, having them passing out information at the churches? I feel in my heart, if we get the churches back involved in this government, you'll see that self-empowerment come back to our people. From those pulpits, they preach the word of God. From them pulpits, that's where we get the most influence from. And through the cooperation with the churches, working with the tribe, we could solve a lot of our problems. And if I had one goal to do, that would be my goal.
At the end of my term, I would like to be able to walk down the streets of any town in Lumbee land and hear some of our young people speaking our old language. I'd like to see the Lumbee people looking out for each other, watching each other's back, helping each other when they're down. Someone's house burned down, I'd like to see our people over there within the next 2 days trying to help get stuff straightened out for them. There's power among us, people. Strength. Unity is what kept us alive back in the 40s and 50s. Unity is what ran the Klan out of here. Unity is going to keep us going. If we don't have unity, you know what's left? Total assimilation. You won't exist no more. Only in your minds. Yes, I'd like to see when I leave here a people that's working together, helping each other out. More jobs. Stronger children. Less drugs in the community. We can do that ourselves. I've got already laid on somebody that will teach us how to train our own counselors.
Mr. Goins. Mr. Goins, the next. All right, the next category will be federal recognition.
Okay.
All right. So far, in your understanding, what has been our biggest obstacle in receiving full federal recognition, and what would you do differently to achieve full federal recognition?
Money, 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 but let's talk about federal recognition. And let's clear the air. I'm man enough to sit up here and tell you when I made a mistake. Now, my father always told me a smart man would recognize his mistakes and correct them. fool will continue making the same mistake. And what I'm alluding to was that luring contract. Me and some other people were on the right road, but was going the wrong way. We should have had full disclosure on that federal recognition. Now, get back to your question. The biggest hindrance to federal recognition is, folks, until we come together as a people, and Washington quits reading every day the negativity coming out of Lumbee land, we'll never have federal recognition. We'll never have it, and you know what I'm talking about. Now, that comes back to that self-recognition. Until we keep talking about unity, but that's just not talk, it's got to become a reality. If all they're saying in Washington, those Lumbees are just a divided group of people paying no attention, that's what's going on in Washington today. Now, can we overcome it? Yes. But understand this, timing in Washington is everything.
To Mr. Jacobs.
Some people say I'm kind of radical. And I can be. Our recognition could have been had years ago. It wasn't that difficult. Like my learned colleague here said, it's a money thing. The federal government recognizes money. A lot of people say, well, the Cherokee don't like us. We got a lot of enemies out there, people. Ain't none of them red. Our size. Not a whole lot to do with our size. It's money. If we could get unity among our people, the federal government would give us anything we wanted, and it wouldn't take but about 6 months. All we'd have to do is fill out one little slip of paper and turn it in. They couldn't lock up 55,000 people. Stop paying taxes. If they'd have stopped paying taxes back in '89, you'd have had recognition by '91. It only takes 90 days for the federal government to realize they've lost a chunk of money. I mean, just as individuals, not businesses.
Decorum, ladies and gentlemen, decorum.
Pardon?
Telling the crowd to calm down.
Go ahead and repeat your question again so everybody knows what we're talking about.
Yes, sir. So far, in your understanding, what is our
I've been working with federal recognition now for 11 months. And the healing process is still out there. It has to be done. When we had a bill that was in Congress, and that bill said that we're not going to have casinos, and then we come back and we find a bill that was a contract that was written that we are and possibly do, that put a knife through every one of you. Our credibility was gone. We have no credibility anymore. We got to build that credibility back in Washington, and we got to build it among our people. Tomorrow, there will be a prayer meeting at 11 o'clock around the tribal building. Be there. We have to start healing ourselves in order to have the plan to make federal recognition a reality for our people. Thank you.
What will be the biggest benefit of federal recognition to the Lumbee tribe?
Say that again.
What will be the biggest benefit of federal recognition to the Lumbee tribe?
Education, economic development, and probably a good cultural aspect. And when you think of what that really means, that not only just for the tribe, but that would be the same thing that would happen to this whole area Because when you invest dollars, those dollars create dollars. So, again, education, jobs, cultural. And I don't know whether I could sit here all night and give you what it would all mean, but I know in the next decade, if we had it, I think you'll see the reality of a whole lot of things change for the better.
What would be the biggest benefit of federal recognition to the Lumbee tribe?
Biggest benefit: funds for education, health care. This would prop us up. I'm not saying we need this forever. This will prop us up and keep us going just long enough for us to get ourselves standing, create our own businesses, make our own money. See, the federal government got a lot of people fooled. 1952, Congress gave themselves the right to eliminate any and all treaties, any and all recognition, any and all reservations. All they got to do is say it so, and it's so. So what I see in recognition for our people is a leg up for self-determination and independence. We gain our own independence, we could care less what the government says from then on.
Repeat that question one time.
What would be the biggest benefit of federal recognition to the Lumbee tribe?
Like everyone else said, education, health care, jobs. As Congressman McIntyre said, it'd be the biggest economic boom in the southeastern North Carolina. But my question to you tonight, in 1956, you were recognized. Why are we asking this question about self-recognition, federal recognition? Well, we ought to be talking about restoration of our rights they took away from us. That's the argument that should be made. You're being recognized by the federal government, but with no benefits to go with it. That's the argument, is our restoration of our rights. Now, jobs, money, all this is great, but you know what? I'm sick and tired of going to these national meetings, and they're looking at me like I'm a second-class entity just because I don't have the name of federal recognition. I know who I am. You know who you are. I don't need the federal government to tell me I'm American Indian. I am. But what I'm arguing about is the benefits for our people. Uplifting our people where they can go get education, they can go get a good job, and they can put food on the table for their families. That's what this recognition is about, to uplift the Lumbee people.
If the Lumbee tribe were to receive the full benefits of recognition, as the tribal government stands today, is it prepared to take on the new responsibilities that will be brought on by that recognition? And how will you work to prepare the tribal staff for these responsibilities?
From my visits over there, I have never worked in that building. From my visits over there, I would say no. What do they need? They needed more cohesive working atmosphere. Everyone should be professional at their job. Every department over there should know exactly what their jobs are, exactly how much funds they have, what to do with those funds. Because we get recognition, the money's going to come in. We want people to be able to handle it. We don't want them to be like a kid just out of high school and grandma died and gave him $2 million and have him go out there and spend it all over the place. We want our people in the tribal headquarters over there to be very cognizant about every dollar they spend. They should be still spending money after recognition like they are now, just as pinching every penny they have to. The more money we have left over after taking care of all of our administrative things, the more money we have to invest in business and grow. That's what that money is going to do us the most good, is in growth, economic growth.
Of course not. What tribe has ever received federal recognition was able to take on that money at one time? First of all, you got to understand, if you receive federal, or not if, when you receive federal recognition, it'll be 2 to 3 years before the money gets here. In the meantime, BIA is going to come here and set up an office, employed from what they told us from 12 to 14 employees. Besides BIA coming in, you're going to have Indian Health Services coming in. So just don't think you're going to get this money and they turn you loose with it. No, there'll be tightly controlled boundaries you're going to have to follow. The question is no. Can we do it? Are we capable? Yes. We do Lumbees. Most talented people in the world. Yeah, we can do it. But we've got to be trained on how to handle this sum of money. Talk about over $100-some million coming in here. Who's going to help us set up the health care part of it? In other words, if every member of the tribe is going to get health care, how are you going to pay the bills when they go to the doctor? There's a lot of things that go into federal recognition just saying we're getting this money. There are going to be some rules and implementation from the BIA, the Department of Interior. Do you know on a federal record on a reservation now, a tribe cannot build a house in a 3-year period because of the red tape from the BIA, Department of Interior? These are things you want to be facing. Now, with that being said, are we capable of doing it? Yes. But we've got to be trained and trained in the right way. And BIA and Indian Health Care would do that training for us.
Go ahead and do that question again so everybody knows what we're talking about.
When we're able to receive full federal recognition, as the tribal government stands today, is it prepared to take on the new responsibilities that will be brought by that federal recognition? And how will you work to prepare the tribal staff for these new responsibilities?
10 years ago, approximately 10 years ago, we were given a NAHASDA grant, right? Were we ready for it? Yes. Did we operate it? Yes. Are we still operating it today? Yes. Folks, we're probably the smartest people in the world. We got lawyers, we got doctors, we got every single discipline that you're talking about implementing the money that would come from our federal government in relation to recognition. Like it was said already, it's not all going to come in here in one truck and you're going to unload it and put it in the bank. Everything goes through a process. Everything in the federal government goes through a process. And we're smart enough to know what the processes are and know how to access those processes. We have friends, native friends, out there that would be willing to come in and help us set up some of these movements that has to be made. Yes. Yes. We're ready for it. Go ahead and tell them to send it to us. We'll take it.
Mr. Goins. The next category is public relations.
Excuse me?
Public relations.
Okay.
We all know that the majority of what's printed in the media portrays the negative aspects of our tribe, regardless if it's true or not. So, what would you do to improve communication about events, programs, and tribal services to members who might not know of the opportunities that the tribe offers?
Okay, the first thing I would tell you, I would get you out of the newspaper. Point blank, you're coming out of the newspaper with this negative stuff going on. Then I would propose that there would be a biennial State of the Tribe address. Not just one called by the Constitution, but two, maybe one in July when it's called for, maybe one in February. Now, this second one will give an account of how the money's been spent up to that point. Now, the reason for the two meetings is to prevent us from stumbling upon money we didn't know we had. Now, a newsletter, it would give us a chance to discuss some of the good things that are happening within the tribe. Not the type of newsletter that was sent out this week. The newsletter HUD informs me they want to send out is something simple, and it pertains nothing but to tribal housing eligible activities. Some things in that newsletter, like Democratic National Convention, is not an eligible activity. We're going to have problems with that newsletter. But I commend Mr. Paul for at least attempting to try to get communication out to our people. Now, how about our members outside the territory? I want to develop a relationship with all the Indian organizations and use them as a satellite office of Lumbee Tribe of North Carolina. The last thing I would do, as far as PR, I would love to establish a coalition of all the state-recognized tribes in North Carolina. I'd love to see all of us sit at the same table and discuss the same problems we all have.
Public relations goes back to the thought that we had earlier in relation to communications. In fact, someone has said, if the communications are correct and the decisions are correct, then your public relations are in the right order. The tribe today has moved in that direction. The newsletter that you have already is purported to be a quarterly newsletter. If you have been to the web lately and you look at it in terms of communication, it has been revamped, it has been restructured, it has been made more friendly user, it has a blog that you can communicate, you can talk back to us, we can talk back to you. So we can communicate now. We can do the things that we couldn't do before. The other thing that really has disturbed me a lot, when I came 11 months ago and I still trying to figure out how to make it work, is I often hear, and you've heard the same thing, I can call the tribe. I can call the tribe and I never get an answer. I want to solve that problem.
Run that by me again.
What would you do to improve communication about events, programs, and services to tribal members who might not know all the opportunities that the tribe offers?
Well, you already heard newsletters. That is a great thing. That is a great thing. Face-to-face is a better thing. Council members, get out in your communities and talk to your people. Explain to them what's going on with the elder housing. Explain to them what's going on with elder health care. A lot of people get those things and they come in the mail and the kids throw them in the trash can before mom and daddy ever see them. They think it's junk mail. Communication with the other tribes in the state and federally recognized both, should always be a consideration and a must. What should not be a consideration is letting Indian business get in the streets. Indian business stays in the tribe. That's how you grow people. You keep your information to yourselves and share it with your brothers and sisters and walk tall and grow. You keep putting your stuff out there in the street and everybody else keep picking it up. Pretty soon you got nothing left to throw in the street. We got to be a single people, single-minded. Let's get this thing together, communicate with each other, and stop putting our business in the street.
This category is housing. Many of the tribe's funding is through housing. Most of the work the tribe does is through housing funds. There are many concerns for people who live outside of Robeson County and surrounding counties that might not receive fair distribution of housing assistance. How will you, as chairman, make sure the members outside of Robeson County is taken care of fairly?
The Tribal Council passed a law in relation to 65 and older would receive the elder housing in relation to, I guess you would put it in such a way that come first. The applications are taken on a come first served basis. If that person lives in Cumberland County and he comes in and he puts in an application, that application is tracked, the time that he comes in, when he comes in, and the process continues. No matter where the person lives in the area of our tribal area, the tracking of that application is tracked not basically from where they live. It's when the application was done. So I'm a little bit confused in relation to why we hear Hoke, Scotland, Cumberland, parts of Robeson are not receiving the services. So maybe we need to do some investigation to find out is what we're really talking about. Okay.
Now, are you talking about housing outside of the tribal area?
No.
Or within the tribal area?
Within the tribal area, there's been a lot of concern from some people that the counties outside of Robeson are not receiving their fair share. That's what a lot of feedback I've gotten.
All you
how
got
will
to
you
do is go through the
ensure-
files and look at the applications. They're supposed to be in there by date. How does one get moved in front of the other one? I don't know. All it takes is a clerk pull it out, stick it up there. Or somebody managing the database to move it up. Or rearranging files is the simplest thing in the world to do. And don't leave a trace. It should be like it comes in by application. The program is set up to work. Let it work.
Now, we'll just talk about in territory. I'll give you a history lesson. The first land the tribe ever bought was Hoke County. The first Boys and Girls Club ever built, Hoke County. They just last year or two built a housing unit in Cumberland County. I think they just a year or two ago they did one in Scotland County. Now, what I'm getting confused at about that question was, it used to be that at each tribal council meeting, the housing manager would give each tribal council member a report on their district. How many homes was due in your district by the population. So at the end of the year, you might be behind in July, August, but by December, all districts should be treated the same. Now, I don't know if that information is still given to the tribal council or not, but you've got me on this one. I didn't know this was occurring. I know it might be a perception problem because they're on the outside, and really perception is reality in a lot of people's mind because everybody thinks Robeson County is getting everything, but I cannot think, and it might be a question about rehab. Maybe that's the concern they've got about rehab. But for me to answer that question, is everything being done equally? I do not know. Should it be? Yes. And And it's just a matter of the chairman staying on top of what the housing department is doing. Make sure this money is spent equally amongst all counties.
The last category tonight will be constitutional issues. All right, and we'll start with Mr. Jacobs. There are some in the tribal community who feel that the people would be better served by having a smaller tribal council. There is even a petition being signed to allow the people to vote on an amendment to the Constitution to reduce the size of the tribal council. How do you feel about having a smaller tribal council? Are there positives or are there negatives, in your opinion?
Yes, it should be smaller. Now, people say, why? Because it's culturally correct. Tribes are set up in divisions, 12 divisions, 12 clans, 12 tribal members. It's historically correct to have 12. It will keep us close to our culture if our government runs the way it's culturally correct. It will teach our children because they'll know who their clan mother is. They'll know who their chairman is. They'll know who their council member will be also their clan leader. So it's culturally correct. It should have been like that forever. It always was.
And let's not forget, my people, that when this Constitution was written, it was done in a good way with a good heart. And at that time, the council determined there were 14 different Lumbee communities, distinct communities: Prospect, Pembroke, Solitary, Firegrove, Cumberland County, Hope County, Scotland County, Oxidine, and that's where the 14 districts came from. Now, when I was chairman, don't think it was a bed of roses, but I was able to work with 21 council members. But the final thing, at the final end of the day, it's the same thing. If the people wants a referendum to vote on it, let them vote. This is the people's government. If they don't want to have the 2, 10, 21, or 31, that's left up to the Lumbee people. I can work with any amount of people. And I would say this, that perception is reality, and we don't want to lose sight of that. Is 21 a lot? Yes, it is, but it's the will of the people. At the end of the day, how many people we have on this tribal council, and the chairman should be able to work with any amounts on that council. And another thing worries me about,
The Constitution is a document that guides the processes and the disciplines that are moved and purported that we all try to follow. As far as the numbers, you and I have decided what those numbers are. And I abide by the numbers that we have decided that we wanted to have. What I would hope we would do is follow the Constitution, which we're not doing. We have 21 members on the Tribal Council. We have 14 districts. That tells me that there's some people out there that are not getting the one man, one vote. So I'm saying to you that we need to do a little bit of correcting in relation to that. But as far as the number of council members, that will still be left up to this body, and we will abide in whatever that body decides it should be.
So my understanding is that everyone here would be in favor of letting the people have a referendum if they received enough signatures on a petition to have a referendum?
That wouldn't be left up to the chairman. That what you're talking about now would be left up to the tribal council, so I don't think anyone up here would have any problem with that.
All right. The final question tonight, we'll start with Mr. Goins first, will be, what is tribal sovereignty and how can it relate to the Lumbee people?
Let me tell you what the State Attorney General told me several years ago back when I asked that question to him. He said, Chairman Goins, there's some questions you don't want to answer to. I cannot tell you what state sovereignty, and nobody else can tell you, means, because there's never been an official ruling from the Attorney General of the United States. Now, if you were supposing that we become federally recognized, that means, hey, we're a nation, but we're a separate nation from the United States, but we're just located in the United States. We'll be able to create our own reservation. Don't mean you got to live on it, but we can put plants and stuff like that on it and bring business in, like it's been talked about economic development. But now, the only thing we can discuss right now is state sovereignty. And I want someone to explain to me what that means. What are we entitled to? I'll tell you again what the Attorney General told me. Chairman Goins, there's some questions you don't want answers to. So I'm going to leave you with that.
There are many definitions that one might try to use in relation to the sovereignty question. Let me give you an example of who we are in relation to what sovereignty means to us. In the 60s, there was a situation that went on in this county in relation to double voting. We solved our own problem. What did we do? We went out and registered our people. When we finished registering our people, did we change double voting? Yes. And by virtue of that, we're still sovereign. We elected a sheriff. We elected a register of deeds. We elected a clerk of court. And we have a superintendent of schools. We have judges, superior court judges. All we have to do is realize the sovereignty in which we have within ourselves, because we can program our own destiny.
Well, we will move on to the closing statements. And we'll pause. While we have a minute to pause, I would like to recognize a special group in American Indian history, that the first ever Native American Greek organization in the country was Alpha Pi Omega Sorority. They were founded in UNC Chapel Hill, and they are proudly our sisters, and they are the greatest sisters in the world.
Hey, we're on Indian time.
And also let everybody know that after the forum tonight, there is a meet and greet, so you can stay and meet the candidates. A great opportunity.
I ain't waterproof. Now run that by me again.
All right, what is tribal sovereignty and what does it mean to the Lumbee people?
Sovereignty, as given by the federal government, actually covers a lot of territory. Supposedly, we're supposed to be able to have our own laws, our own law enforcement, supposedly, our own criminal courts, supposedly. We're supposed to be able to determine who adopts our children, supposedly. But when it comes down to brass tacks, what does it mean? Not a whole lot. Hadn't meant a whole lot since 1952. We have to be independent. One day, somebody's going to get a wild hair up in Washington, D.C., and say, I'm tired of these Indians. Let's get rid of all the reservations. And somebody else will say, yeah, that's a good idea. And they're going to go for 100% assimilation. We'll already be independent by then. We won't worry about it. We'll have our own schools. We'll have our own hospitals. We'll be totally independent by then. Unless they plan on doing it soon.
All right. Well, now we will move on to our closing statements. And opening statements, Mr. Brooks started, so we're gonna let Mr. Jacobs start and head our way down. You have 2 minutes closing statement, closing argument, your final why should we vote for you time.
I love my people. I pray for them every day. I spend every day of my life out among my people because I care. I teach the children where they come from so they'll know where they're going. And I'd like to see that instituted throughout all of our communities. I'm learning our old language. Everybody else can too. It'll bring us closer together. We need each other. That's all we've ever needed. The Lumbee people ain't never needed nothing except each other. And I'm going all the way back in history. It was teamwork coming together, sacrifices that we made in our communities that held us together as a people. It wasn't individualism. You can be individually wealthy, true, but you can still shake your neighbor's hand. If your neighbor's having a cookout, you can go over there and help them with the fire. That's what I want to see, people. As your chairman, I want our people to walk with our heads held high again. I don't want our children going around and people telling them, who are you? What are you? They'll know. And I want our children to walk with their heads held high. I don't want them to see a kid getting off the bus with his head down like that. What's wrong with you, boy? They said I was mixed breed, I was this. Forget it. I want our people to be Indian. From the littlest one to the ancients. I want us to love one another. Thank you.
Quickly, get out and vote for Rodney. All right. Folks, we just need to learn to get along. We need to get all this negativity out of the newspapers, and how do we do that? We give them something positive to talk about. Getting to try to work for the people instead of against the people, one another. I want to make the Lumbee name a badge of honor that you wear with pride. Our people want to see a sermon. They don't want to hear one. That'll preach. I want to show you unity and not just give you a bunch of talk. I pledge to you that I will do everything in my power to ensure that mutual respect is extended between our elected officials and especially our tribal membership. I pledge that you will have a voice at the tribal council meetings, and both myself and the other branches of government will come together and do what is needed in the best interest of the Lumbee people. I'm Jimmy Goins, and I want to be your next tribal chairman. God bless America, and God bless the Lumbee tribe.
I want to invite everybody here to take a part in our government. In other words, every tribal council meeting, you should be there. We should be there. And by working together, we can make things happen. Our credibility is at stake as we sit here. And we have to realize that the only way that we're going to remove that scar is for us to work together. That's the only way it's going to happen. If we're going to do anything, we have to think outside the box in order to be able to move forward and get our people the jobs that they need, the education that they need, and the joy that we can share together in relation to that. Because if you put bread on the table and you put a Bible in the house, God will make sure everything else is taken care of. He has blessed us so much, and we are a blessed people. And I'm saying to you today that on November the 13th, you go to the polls and you vote for Paul Brooks, we will continue moving forward in the positive way that you'll be happy that you did so. Thank you very much tonight.
On behalf of Phi Sigma Nu, I want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. I'd like to thank the candidates, and may God bless us all, and go vote on November 13th. Thank you.